This is Bubblegung, and he's about to embark on a journey to 100% Dark Souls by unlocking all 41 different achievements. However, Bubblegung isn't exactly the brightest, and he hasn't figured out how to fight with anything but his fists. Fist weapons have basically no range and deal pitiful damage, which will make getting some of these achievements, difficult. And to make matters worse, none of the starting classes begin the game with a fist weapon. So, we'll have to rely on nothing but our bare knuckles to escape this asylum. Surprisingly, Bubblegung was able to drop the first few undead after just a few punches, so he reached the first bonfire with relative ease. But as it would turn out, those enemies by our cell were significantly weaker than the rest. Oh my god, they're already so much stronger here. Fisting every single enemy here clearly was not practical, so after grabbing our Estus flasks, I decided to run past them. Of course, this is a luxury that would not extend to our first boss. Here we go. 30? 30. Okay. This is gonna be rough. We are dealing just 2 damage per punch, and this boss has 813 health. After accounting for the 30 damage from the plunge attack, we have to punch this demon 392 times to defeat it, without dying first. Okay. Okay, we're locking in. We're locking in. No more reading chat. Guys, we're almost at 3 bars. We can do this. I don't even know how long we've been in this fight. We're about to hit the hour point. That is ridiculous. Come on. Yes! Yes! We did it! I know it says an hour, but it didn't take that many tries. With that, we made it to Firelink Shrine, and right away we can see that the enemies here are much stronger than the ones in the Undead Asylum. Bubblegung's bare knuckles are not going to cut it anymore. He needs a fist weapon. So, using our starting gift master key, I unlocked this door in the Undead Burg, and from there I started running towards the Undead Parish. Now, I can already feel the massive comments being queued up, so I'll address this now. Yes, this is a shield in our left hand, and no, it's not a fist weapon. So, I'll clarify the rules of this challenge. As long as he himself, Bubblegung, does not directly damage an enemy with anything but a punch, it's fair game. I will not tolerate any Bubblegung slander in the comments. With that sorted, we can talk to the blacksmith Andre, who happens to be selling the Kestis. There we go, we have a fist weapon. Okay, it's still bad. It's still really... Whoa, it took me a solid 2.5 minutes just to kill this one knight for his Titanite shard. That's longer than it usually takes me to defeat the boss of this area. So, before we even attempt that fight, we need to upgrade our weapon. Andre sells an infinite supply of Titanite shards, however, they're a little out of our budget at the moment. Fortunately, the Taurus demon must have seen the predicament we were in and decided to donate 3,000 souls to the cause. And while that was incredibly gracious of him, we still needed more. Our next donor is this nearby dragon. As soon as it senses the player, the dragon will eviscerate everything on this bridge, granting us a healthy dose of souls. And after kicking down this ladder, I could repeat this process until we had enough souls to upgrade our Kestis to +5, bringing our attack rating from 60 to 108. Now, don't get me wrong, nearly doubling our attack rating is great, but to put that number into perspective, that's a singular point higher than what the bandit class starts out with. And in order to upgrade it further, we would need large Titanite shards, which are sadly out of reach at the moment. So while we can't upgrade our Kestis anymore, we technically have one more option. If we venture into the New Londo ruins, run past the invincible ghosts, slowly punch this guy to death and steal his key, we'll be able to drain the water from this area and uncover the Dark Wraith enemies. Each one of these Dark Wraiths has a chance to drop the Dark Hand, a 200 AR fist weapon. However, there was a fatal flaw to this plan. These guys are incredibly strong, and our Kestis was dealing just 50 damage per backstab. That's 11 backstabs just to defeat them. It took a few tries and about 10 minutes, but I finally managed to chain enough backstabs together to kill one of them. Okay. Do we get it first try? Surely we do. Which begs the question, just how rare is this Dark Hand anyway? Well, it's a 1% drop. Now hold on, I know what you're thinking. It took 10 minutes just to kill one of these guys. There's no way this is worth it. And normally, I'd agree with you. But do you ever just get the feeling that today's your lucky day? That no matter how stacked the odds are against you, you'll still come out on top? Well, that's exactly how I felt that day. With just a little bit of luck and a few Dark Wraith kills, that 200 attack rating will be ours. Okay, so clearly I was a little off in terms of how lucky I would be that day because it's already been 2.5 hours. So I decided to look into boosting our item discovery. Aside from the soft humanity we've been using, we have 2 options. But to my dismay, both of these items come from areas we cannot access yet. Or at least areas we're not meant to. The gold serpent ring is locked within Sen's fortress. However, my chat told me a way to get inside early, and it starts by parrying this undead enemy on these stairs. Whoa. We have just triggered the death cam without actually dying, changing the camera view to top down and consequently making it very difficult to move around. It's so hard to control. I know it looks really stupid, like what is he doing, but trust me, it's really hard. While the death cam is active, the game won't load in new areas, including the gate to the fortress. To get there, you have to navigate the area blind while getting used to the new movement controls, but this, of course, was no trouble for Bubblegung. Oh, I think we got it. Uh-oh. I can't move anymore. That was, in fact, not the way to Sen's fortress, so after spawning back in, I made note of the tower layout before trying again. Yeah, this is it. Now we just go straight, and here's Sen's fortress. Now if we quit out, we should be inside. However, it's not over yet, because if we die before grabbing the ring, we'll have to redo the entire skip. So, it was time to lock in. Bitch. Go. There it is. Wow, that put us to 300 item discovery. Add in the soft humanity and we get to 350, pushing that 1% dark hand all the way up to a 3.5% drop. So now it should be just around the corner. If I was told it will take over 6 hours to get the dark hand, I can't imagine I would have decided, yeah, let's do it. But now that I'm so deep, I feel like I have to. Worth 19? Okay, wait. That's actually a lot better. Wait, that's actually so much better. And as a nice bonus, the Dark Hand has a very handy secondary effect. Now, if you missed our humanity going up, I won't blame you because that was quite the suave maneuver from Bubblegung. But for whatever reason, the NPCs don't really seem to mind when you do this, or at least not enough to actually aggro. So we can repeat this move as much as we want until we've siphoned away every ounce of their humanity. We can then use this humanity to kindle the various bonfires across the map and increase the number of Estus flasks that we can carry. With that, we can finally take on those gargoyles. And aside from defeating the boss, our main goal is to cut off its tail to acquire a new weapon. He one-shot it. That's crazy. Don't worry, we aren't permitting axes for this challenge. Instead, we need this for the Knight's Honor achievement. An achievement that requires you to, and I quote, acquire all rare weapons. That's literally all the information they give you. I was able to find the arbitrary list of rare weapons, courtesy of the wiki, and it turns out we've already picked up 4 of them. So, only 45 more to go. After the fight, we could climb to the top of the church and ring the bell for an achievement. And I swear there's an NPC here. He's really important too. If I ever hit one of the NPCs by accident, this dude is the only way I can repent in order to access their shops and or continue their quests again. Got a gesture. I don't know if getting all the gestures is an achievement. I don't think it is. I don't see it on the spreadsheet. No! I tabbed back in by clicking on it. Not only do I now miss out on one of the many miracles we need for an achievement, but if I ever do that again to another NPC, I won't be able to do anything about it until New Game Plus. But on the bright side, now that I know about it, there's no way I'll do it again. Back at Firelink, I sucked the low trick for all he's worth, before kicking him off the edge to get the Ring of Favor and Protection. For those of you that aren't familiar with this game, trust me, this was justified. From there, I made my way down to the catacombs. Now, I generally wouldn't come down here so early because we aren't able to teleport between bonfires yet, and the run back to Firelink can be rather painful. However, given the nature of the challenge, I felt it was worth it to get the Rite of Kindling early. This item drops from the boss of this area and will allow us to kindle bonfires 2 extra times, bringing our total Estus count all the way up to 20. But on the way there, we stumbled across this bridge, and if I were to step on it, Patches over there would activate a lever, flipping the bridge and sending us to our deaths. Is there any reason why I shouldn't just kill him here? Yes, actually. If we follow his questline, he'll eventually move back to Firelink, at which point he'll sell us another Knight's Honor weapon. So, we have to spare him for now. That being said, Bubblegung wasn't going to let him weasel his way out of the Dark Hand treatment. What am I even going to do with all this humanity? We can kindle every bonfire there is. Oh shit. Guys, I swear I didn't do that. You may drop his weapon, what you need. Alright.
What did I ever?
What did I ever, he says. Crescent Axe, is that his weapon? That's what you need? Oh, dude. Optimal. We're just speedrunning, chat. A little further into the catacombs, we find an open coffin that we can slide into. And after 30 seconds, for some reason, a cutscene is triggered, and we get transported to a future boss arena where we can discover our first covenant. In addition to an achievement, we also get a nice signing bonus in this Sword Miracle. From there, I continued through the area, ran past quite possibly the worst enemy in any game ever, and challenged Pinwheel, who is no match for us even with her stubby arms. Come on. Okay, Rite of Kindling. And after escaping the catacombs, I was able to cruise through the early game thanks to the Dark Hand and my now kindled bonfires. I traveled through the lower undead burg, freed the sorcerer, defeated the Capra demon, then entered the depths to save the pyromancer, and cut off the gaping dragon's tail for some juicy Knight's Honor. But then I reached Blighttown, where I started to notice the one major drawback of our Dark Hand. While the base damage is incredibly high, it cannot be upgraded, nor will it scale with any of your stats. So, with each passing area, the enemies are getting stronger and our weapon is falling behind, which makes the 6 hours that we sunk into this thing sting just that little bit more. How much damage do you do? Ooh, not a lot. The damage was good enough to get past Q-Ladge on my second try, but we'll want to start thinking about an alternative fist weapon soon. After the boss fight, we can ring the second bell, which triggers an achievement, and also grants access to Sen's Fortress. The intended way this time. But before leaving for the fortress, I joined the Chaos Servant Covenant. You get 1 pyromancy for joining, and another one when you reach rank 3. There's an achievement for getting every pyromancy, sorcery, and miracle, so it's vital that we collect all of these spells. Finally, I went after another pyromancy called Power Within that was being guarded by this enemy. We got it. I ended up just running through Sen's Fortress because at this point we're borderline tickling the enemies with our Dark Hand. But after freeing Logan, I fell victim to rushing through this area a little too much. Go, 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 go. Shit. While I struggle my way to the top of the fortress, let's talk about the boss that awaits us there, Iron Golem. Normally, he's pretty easy, because if you do enough damage to his legs, he'll start wobbling and eventually fall down, at which point you get a massive window to wail on him. However, based on the last boss fight, I wasn't sure if we'd have enough damage to knock him over. But that's where Power Within comes in. This pyromancy is a body buff that increases your damage by 40% in exchange for 1% of your health every second for 100 seconds. And it might just be the answer to toppling this boss. Hey, he's wobbling. He's wobbling. Hey! We can do it! I love how he just falls there instantly. Thanks to Power Within, we've made it to Anor Londo. And while it's a visually breathtaking area, mechanically it's breathtaking in a different kind of way. He's crazy. Dude! They're roll catching me? This stretch between the first 2 bonfires in Anor Londo is genuinely one of the most difficult things in the entire game for me. The demons, the onslaught of arrows, the narrow pathways, and this stinky knight standing in the way to our salvation. Hit him off? Please hit him off? Oh, that just killed. Huge. Once inside, I found Havel's equipment for some valuable Knight's Honor. Then I started farming these Silver Knights, because there are several random weapon drops that also contribute towards our Knight's Honor. I sadly was not able to find any of the 3 drops just yet, because they're all quite rare, but I was able to get nearly 30,000 souls, which can be used to get our next fist weapon. You see, the giant blacksmith here in Anor Londo sells an unlimited supply of large titanite shards. Using these shards, we can get our Kestis to +10 and combine it with the soul of the Iron Golem to make the Dragon Bone Fist. However, Despite having 30 strength, it still somehow performed worse than her Dark Hand. And in order to upgrade it, we need Dragon Scales, which are few and far between in the early game. So we're stuck with the Dark Hand, which is quite tragic because we could have really used an upgrade before this next boss. Okay, that was good though, we got close. Normally I would target Ornstein first, because once one of the bosses goes down, the other gets super buffed. However, we have to kill both super versions for an achievement. So I decided to deal with the harder variant first, because Super Ornstein would only get more difficult if we were to save it for New Game Plus. Okay, so I've never done this before. But I know it's harder, that's why I've always done it the other way. Wait, he gets bigger! That's crazy! Holy shit! And right off the bat, I could see why this was so much more difficult. Ornstein's attacks now have just as much range as Smough's would, except they are significantly faster. Oh! No! Wow, that actually did less than when he sat on me. But with some careful play, I was able to gradually whittle down his health bar over the next 4 minutes. He's almost dead. Come on! Yes! Hey, that was second try. Afterwards, we get one achievement for getting the Lord Vessel, and another for discovering the Princess's Guards Covenant. Now that we have the Lord Vessel, we can teleport to and from select bonfires, which is great because we need to pick up a doll in the Undead Asylum before we can continue exploring Anor Londo. There's another large demon here, and while it was easier than the first one we fought now that Bubblegung actually has a weapon, it was by no means fast. It took a good 8 minutes to defeat this demon because our Dark Hand DPS is currently in freefall. But we had our doll, which meant that we were free to go. Or so I thought, because it turns out I forgot to pick up the Crest Shield for the Knight's Honor achievement once again. Now that we have the doll, we can enter the painted world of Arimis and begin farming crow demons for a Covenant drop. We need 10 of them to get the Dark Moon Miracle, and they have a drop rate of 6%, which might not sound too bad, but we had a big problem. Oh my god, they're so strong. Guys, how am I gonna do this? Unlike previous enemies that we have farmed, this one can't be backstabbed or parried, and we also have to fight 2 of them at once with our pitiful Dark Hand. It took a full minute just to kill 2 of them, and I'll be honest, I was very lucky to have even lived that encounter. There was no way I was going to be able to farm these enemies, so I had to leave the painted world behind for now. But we didn't leave empty-handed, because we now have the knowledge that our DPS is on life support and requires urgent attention. So I farmed some more Silver Knights, and even got a drop this time, until we had enough souls to buy 9 large Titanite. With those large Titanite shards, along with the chunks and slab that I picked up from the 6 hours of Dark Wraith farming, I was able to max out a new Kestis. Alright, please tell me it's more than Dark Hand. It is. Guys, we just got 50 extra damage. Certainly nothing to write home about, but unlike the Dark Hand, this Kestis will scale with our strength and dex, so it will only get better from here. Our next target is the 4 Kings, but in order to reach them, we need the Covenant of Artorias Ring, which drops from Sif in the Darkroot Basin. I ran through most of this area, but I made sure to stop for the Forest Hunter Covenant. And as you can see, another benefit this weapon has over the Dark Hand is that it's buffable, so I added the magic weapon spell buff to our loadout to take advantage of that. Dude, we're doing damage. That has to be the finisher we go for every time. Now that we had the ring, I was able to run straight to the 4 Kings fight because I played through all of New Londo back when I was farming Dark Wraiths. The damage is pretty good. Oh, he came out of nowhere. Hey, pretty good damage. If it weren't for a certain other boss in this game, the 4 Kings would probably be my least favorite fight. Contrary to the name, there are potentially well over 4 Kings that will spawn because they have a shared health bar and each king spawns on a timer. Which means if you can't kill them in time, you will start getting ganked. And in our current state, we were not passing that DPS check. So instead, I went to the bread and butter strategy for this fight. I stacked up as much resistance and poise as possible by throwing on Havel's armor so that I could keep attacking through their hits. Combine that with the gold pine resin, and we were killing the kings just in time. Yeah, we're melting this guy. Oh no, 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 no. Okay, no, we have enough health, Alright, we're good, we're good. After the fight, this lizard guy named Kath showed up to offer us a unique mode of transportation to the Firelink altar. We can't do much here until we have the 4 Lord Souls, so after placing the Lord Vessel, I went back to the Abyss to join the lizard guy's covenant. Our next stop is the Demon Ruins, where I was able to fist my way past the Ceaseless Discharge, Demon Fire Sage, and Centibe Demon after 1 or 2 tries. And well, I wish I could say the same about the boss up next. Okay, here we go. Misery ahead. To defeat this boss, you have to destroy these 3 orange spheres. That's big. That's one. However, now that the first sphere has been destroyed, the ground will start to give way, and the boss will do its best to sweep you into these holes with its long, undodgeable attacks. Your progress will be saved even if you die in this fight, so thankfully we never have to destroy that first one again. But the run back is 2 minutes long, so dying to this boss still feels pretty damn bad. All you can really do at this point in the fight is hold up a shield, beeline it to the next sphere, and pray you get lucky. Oh, that is good. No, shields. Let me in. Okay, there we go. With that, there is just one more sphere remaining, but to reach it, we have to drop down onto a branch in the center of the arena. No! We almost got swept onto it. And after one last 2-minute run back, I was able to make it to the center. Punch. There we go. And it's down. Bubblegung's next victim is Nito, who can be found in the Tomb of the Giants. However, the Tomb of the Giants is a pitch black zone, so I made sure to pick up the Sunlight Megan helmet while we were still in Lost Izalith. Nito happens to be the Gravelord Servant Covenant leader, so before we kill him, it is imperative that we hop into this tombstone to rank up this covenant while we still can, by using our 10 Eyes of Death that I farmed up earlier. Otherwise, we'll miss out on a miracle. Speaking of missing out on miracles, because we killed Patches, he wasn't there to kick us down into this pit, which means that I totally forgot to save Rhea down there, and she never gave me the replenishment miracle. So we'll add that to the list of things I will try not to mess up in New Game Plus. That aside, the Tomb of the Giants isn't that bad if you have a light source and know where you're going. Unfortunately, I only had one of these things. Already past the bonfire? Okay. I managed to find basically everything but the bonfire, including this large divine ember and this shield that we need for the Knight's Honor achievement. Thanks to my chat, I was eventually able to find that first bonfire, which I decided to kindle so that we could become human. Scripted NPC invasions will only occur if the player is human, and there's an invader here that we need to kill for Knight's Honor. Past the horde of creepy baby skeletons, we can grab this white Titanite slab that is required for the Divine Weapon achievement. If you've only played the other Souls games, you might be rather confused by this item, but that's because this game's upgrade system is rather convoluted. For example, let's try and turn this Spare Kestis into a Divine +10 weapon. First, we get it to +5 with normal Titanite shards. Then after about 10 minutes of Silver Knight farming, I had enough souls to buy 9 large Titanite shards. Except, I had just made a mistake. You see, Divine Weapons need specifically green large Titanite shards. So it was a good thing I got the remaining Silver Knight drops, because otherwise that would have been a complete and utter waste of time. After farming a few of these slugs in Blighttown, I was able to get our green shards, but before we could use them, we have to modify our Kestis into a divine weapon using the Divine Ember, which I found just after the Moonlight Butterfly arena. Now that it's divine, we can use our green large Titanite shards to get it to +5. Then for some reason you have to modify it again from a +5 divine weapon into a +6 divine weapon using our large Divine Ember this time. And instead of Titanite chunks, we of course have to use white Titanite chunks. I was able to farm these from the pinwheels just outside of Nito's arena, and from there, we could finally use that white Titanite slab that we picked up before. +10. Divine Weapon. We have to max out every possible upgrade path that you can take in this game for 10 separate achievements. And I'm going to do us all a favor and spare you most of the details on them. Now, divine weapons are kind of garbage in this game, but the Nito boss fight is probably the one spot where they have some value. There are 3 skeleton ads that you have to deal with during the fight, and even if you kill them, they keep coming back to life in order to harass you. However, if we instead defeat them with the divine weapon, they'll stay dead and allow us to focus purely on the boss, which is a strong candidate for the easiest boss in the game once these skeletons are out of the picture, because most of his attacks will just completely whiff if you're standing close enough. Wait, what? Alright. GG. Okay, that's another achievement. The final Lord Souls obtained from Seath the Scaleless in the Duke's Archives. On the first run through, I didn't find the area that bad, and I made it to Seath rather quickly. Oh, and if you're wondering why we're skipping Logan's questline here, it requires 183,000 souls to complete it, so this will be a problem for future Bubblegung. As you can see, Seath has a tail, so our Knight's Honor is on the line here. While chopping off tails has been quite a trivial task thus far, we were in for a rude awakening. Seath is massive, so it takes significantly longer to get around this boss. And just as you're about to reach his tail, he'll often start flailing his limbs around, preventing you from attacking it. Then when he's finally done his tantrum, he'll spin around to face you and you're back at square one. This is so painful. So you kind of just have to hope he opts for a different attack to allow you to get a few hits in. And of course, because we're running fists only, We need way more windows to chop his tail because we do so little damage and Bubblegung's stubby arms keep missing. Why did they make the boss spin so fast if the mechanic was like, oh yeah, you gotta hit the very back tail? Like, come on! Holy shit! This whole process was incredibly tedious and took me a good 20 minutes to finally chop it. Yes, yes! We did it! The boss took a few more tries to beat, but it wasn't anywhere near as bad as trying to chop his tail off. Alright. Seath is down. With that, it was time to go back to the Painted World to finish up that Covenant farm, because now that Bubblegung has a plus 15 Kestis, those Raven Demons didn't stand a chance. It's not gonna be good, and we're dead. Okay. There are only 3 bosses left to fight in this game, and yet I'm still dying to these birds. At this point, I was starting to question if we'd ever be strong enough. But then it hit me. No matter how strong you are, there's one thing that you will never defeat in a Souls game. Now that I think about it, these are bird enemies that are clearly capable of flying, so this really should not have worked, but 45 minutes of farming later, we picked up our 10th souvenir and could now rank up the Covenant for that miracle. Alright, so now we can fight the boss. So is there like a strategy with this guy, or do you just run at him? Not really, you just keep running at him until you get close enough to get a few hits in before he teleports away. It's another stinker fight, but hey, at least this one's easy. After the fight, we get the Sunlight Blade miracle, which will be incredibly useful later on, and with that, the only boss left to defeat besides Gwyn was Crossbreed Priscilla. We've actually already seen Priscilla a few times now because she's the boss of the Painted World. She's quite unique in that she doesn't aggro until the player hits her, so I was able to walk right past and skip the fight, and I had a very good reason for doing so. While she's passive, I have exactly one chance to land a free hit on her tail, because once she aggros, she will turn invisible, making it extremely difficult to hit it. And if I waste that opportunity and fail to chop its tail, from then on, she'll start each fight aggroed and invisible. So, Bubblegung needs to become powerful, much more powerful. At this point, upgrading the Dragon Bone Fist was our only option. Now, if you recall, in order to upgrade the Bone Fist, we need to use Dragon Scales. The first couple were easy to get. I go on for defeating this undead dragon, and another for giving a vermifuge to Snuggly. But the scales from the Hydras were a different story. These guys suck to fight even when you have a normal loadout, because there's a very brief window of opportunity to get damage in. Tack on the laughable range on our fist weapons, and it becomes quite miserable. I can't hit him. And, I'm sorry, I just gotta talk about this horrendous, absolute dog water R1 follow-up on these fist weapons. What is this? How am I supposed to hit anything with this pitiful excuse for an attack? I don't know who thought this was a good idea, but they're single-handedly responsible for putting me through immense torment over the course of this run. What? What do you mean network connection loss? I was down at that lake for 40 minutes before I took this stupid Hydra down, largely thanks to that Steam server maintenance. 2 Dragon Scales. Okay. Before heading back up to face the other Hydra, I made sure to discover the Path of Dragon Covenant. And if we mosey on back here, yep, that's a tail. Now, I'm not sure how honorable this one is because he just kinda lets you cut it off, but that's not up for me to decide. Luckily, the other Hydra in the Dark Root Basin has much less health, so it didn't take nearly as long and was relatively smooth sailing. And finally, the last skill, I farmed out Drakes for the random drop, which in retrospect would have been much faster than dealing with the Hydras. There we go. Let's see what the damage is. 316. Okay, that was a huge upgrade. While our damage is ready for Priscilla and the final boss, I hope, we still have a lot of achievements to round up, and plenty of Knight's Honor to be gained in this new game cycle. Any extra levels we get in the meantime will only boost our odds of success, so before we get to those bosses, I took out our brand new +5 Dragon Bone Fist for a spin on these Black Knights, and farmed out their drops. It only took 2 parries to defeat these guys, and with our maxed out item discovery, I managed to get all 5 of their Knight's Honor drops in under 20 minutes. And despite having base drop rates of 2%, it only took about 10 minutes to farm out the Stone Great Shield and Greatsword, so things were going great. Until we reached the Channeler's Trident, a 1% drop from this enemy in the Duke's Archives. A 1% drop on its own would be manageable, thanks to our item discovery buffs. However, As soon as you get close to this enemy, it will teleport away to the other side of the zone. It takes too long to chase them down, and as I soon found out, you'll probably die trying, so it's best to just reset when they teleport. I started buffing myself to boost my chances of defeating them before they get a chance to teleport away, and this worked most of the time, but it had a major drawback. Taking that time to buff allowed the other enemies extra time to catch up to me. And the funny little thing about our humanity luck buff is that it all goes down the drain if you die before picking up your souls again. Teleport. Do something. No! Dude! So I had to hit pause on this trident farm until I farmed up enough rats to get our 10 humanity back. Nope. Oh my god. Dude, that has to be it. That has to be it. Yes! Okay, it's over. It's actually over. Now that we have all of the farmable Knight's Honor weapons, I decided to focus on the various weapon upgrade achievements next. There are 8 upgrade paths left to max out, which will require a plethora of upgrade materials. I was able to save on some materials by using pre-modified weapons that I picked up, and to my surprise, thanks to all of that Black Knight farming, we already have enough colored chunks for them all. I was able to get the achievements for maxing out the enchanted, lightning, raw, and fire weapons, but I was stopped 1 upgrade short on the remaining 4 because I ran out of the Titanite slabs. And while you can technically farm them from enemies, I draw the line at 1% for completely unnecessary farming sessions. Instead, we can just pick them up in New Game Plus, which we have to go to anyway for a couple different achievements. Afterwards, I farmed the Black Knights again for an hour and a half, this will make sense later I promise, rounded up all of the spells that I couldn't just buy from vendors, became an even more honorable knight, and then finally challenged Priscilla. Here we go. Please, one shot. Yes! Holy shit! Oh my god. Ow. I don't know where she is though. Big feet. My god. But not as big as our damage. Bubblegung was looking unstoppable. Combine that with the hours of parry practice that we've gone through over the course of this run, and Gwyn would be no match for us. So after I finally remembered to join this guy's Covenant in Firelink, it was time to challenge the final boss. Turns out, Gwyn, the Lord of Cinder, is a step up from your average Black Knight. In fact, maybe a few steps up. Oh, fuck. Holy fuck. We need to heal. Power Within's gonna kill us. Oh, that was a lot of damage, though. Yep. Yep. Alright, you ready for the finisher, chat? You guys ready for the finisher? Oh! Oh, well, that's awkward. That's really awkward. Oh, that's really awkward. Oh, that move sucks. Here we go. Boom! Alright, we did it. That took way too long. Hey, we're back! It was a power within. I have to be the first person to have ever died like that.
We are here to serve your highness.
Dude, Bubblegung's got like the lizard gang. Little crotch shot there. What was that shot? A little bit of fan service?
Let the true dark be cast upon the world.
Wait, this is sick. This was the correct answer.
Our Lord returns.
And with that, we can get our first ending achievement. And we begin anew. Now, gamers, this is very important. We need to not mess up any NPC quests. If we mess up a single one, then we gotta do that quest line again +2, and it's gonna suck. Thankfully, there's nothing to mess up yet while we're still in the asylum, so we're free to go straight to the boss. Okay, we're done. Our first goal in New Game Plus is getting Ray's Miracle as fast as possible. To start our quest line, we need to ring the bell at the Undead Church, so I ran through the Undead Burg, defeated the Taurus Demon, and... wait. You see that? That's a tail. A tail that we missed out on in the first New Game cycle. So Ray is gonna have to wait a while longer because our Knight's Honor is at stake here. Usually this tail is one of the easiest to sever in the game. You simply grab a bow and shoot it a few times. But from a fists only perspective, well, now that I think about it, I've never seen it done any other way, but my chat assured me it was possible. If we wait long enough behind this wall, the dragon will eventually land on the bridge, giving us an opportunity to melee the tail. Uppercut! Am I hitting him? I missed twice! If we hug the right wall, the tail is low enough to get in a few normal attacks, and we only have to hit it twice thanks to our damage buffs. Past the dragon, I was able to discover the final covenant, and as a reward for joining it, we get the lightning spear miracle. There's actually 2 more miracles that you get for ranking up this covenant, but we still need 4 more sunlight medals to get them. To help with that endeavor, I summoned Solaire to assist with the gargoyles. Provided he survives the encounter, he'll reward us with a sunlight medal. And with Bubblegung on the case, I don't think we need to worry about Solaire dying. If there's one thing I can do, it's damage. Oh my god. Thank you, Solaire. After ringing the bell, I found an alive Oswald so I could finally purchase the Karmic Justice miracle. Oh, and another thing I totally missed due to all of our send skip shenanigans was Siegmeyer's questline. This is required to get a miracle, so we're going to add it to the list of ever-growing questlines that we need to coddle. But with that, I traveled back to Firelink to start Rhea's questline. She's right here usually, right? It was at this point that I realized I had it totally wrong. Rhea doesn't spawn after you ring the bell. She spawns after defeating the Capra Demon. So, we were off to the lower Undead Burg. I beat the Capra Demon on my first try last time, so I never had to deal with the run back, and I now see how fortunate that was. The amount of dogs that they managed to stuff into this area is just ridiculous, so while it burned a lot of time, on the next attempt I slowly started clearing them out, only for this to happen near the fog wall. No, dude. Things got so bad that I had to open up the sewer shortcut and take the long trek from Firelink instead. Alright, it's going good. Heal. Okay. Which means we can talk to Rhea at Firelink and head into the Tomb of the Giants to further her quest. Okay, this is what we weren't able to do before because we killed him. Now that we're in the pit, all we have to do is defeat these 2 hollow enemies, and she'll give us the miracle. She also sells a few unique miracles, so I made sure to pick those up too. Our next stop is Blighttown, because we need to ring the second bell, but also because we missed out on a very important vendor. This is Quilana, and she will only show up if you have a +10 Pyromancy Flame. She sells a lot of unique pyromancies, and according to my chat, even drops one when killed. I sure hope you guys are right about this. Fire Tempest, acquire all pyromancies. Let's go, dude. My excitement was short-lived, however, because I was in for quite the shock back at Firelink. Oh, GG. Okay, well that's really annoying. Lotric never showed up in Firelink, so I forgot to kill him, and if left to his own devices, he will kill the Firekeeper. So, until we can find and kill Lotric, we are left without a bonfire at Firelink. In the meantime, we're off to Sense Fortress to progress Siegmeyer's questline. I would later find out that talking to him here is completely optional, for some reason, but I will never shy away from some quality time with the Onion. And after a swift Iron Golem fight, we arrived at Anor Londo. I was able to pick up the last 3 sunlight medals that we needed here, and also found Siegmeyer again. He sits back and lets us fight the Silver Knight so he can give us a few pointers on our technique, and after getting his ring, the last thing we have to do to get his miracle is talk to him back at Firelink. But before we can teleport back there, we have to defeat Ornstein and Smough again. As I mentioned before, the trouble with this fight is staying patient with the lack of punish windows. This really works against us though, because our buffs have a time limit. So at best, I was getting just a few hits in before they ran out, at which point our damage plummets, and only drags out the fight longer. The attempt you are seeing now started over 7 minutes ago. No, what? Oh, that took so long too. If I was going to beat these guys anytime soon, I needed more damage. Since both of these bosses heavily resist lightning, I decided to swap to the Darkmoon Blade buff. After switching to the appropriate covenant, because for some reason you have to do that in this game, I could now use the miracle and try the fight again. Holy shit, dude. That's so much damage. Oh. Okay, well it ran out, but we did about half of its health bar. That gave us a huge head start, and with some patient play, we should be able to make it to phase 2, no problem. No! No! Yeah, this fight still wasn't easy by any means. In fact, outside of the Asylum Demon, these 2 took the longest to beat out of any of the bosses we have faced so far. Yes! Okay, that's big. Super Smough is way easier than Super Ornstein because all of his attacks are really slow. So as long as you don't do anything stupid, it's pretty free. There we go. That took way too long. With that, we could grab the miracle from Siegmeyer, and also the 2 miracles from the Sunbro Covenant now that we have 10 medals. Now there's only 1 miracle left. And it's one that I kind of just missed in the Painted World, but we'll pick that up a little later, because Bubblegung has a score to settle with Lotric. Though, unbeknownst to Bubblegung, Lotric has his own entourage, which complicated things. Oh my god. So, on the next go, I abused the immunity frames that we get from backstabs and parries, and that made it much easier. Alright, GG's. Next, I ventured into the Dark Root Basin to kill the Moonlight Butterfly. And for those of you wondering why we're killing this optional boss again, it ties into that extra Black Knight farming session, which I'll talk about soon. Before killing Sif, it is important that we find yet another easy-to-miss eventual Blighttown vendor. This is Shiva, and he only shows up if you're in the Forest Covenant. He sells one of the Knight's Honor weapons that is otherwise a 2% drop, so it's well worth the 15k souls. Our next questline takes place in the Duke's Archives. We need to free Logan from this cell, buy out all of his spells, and defeat Sif. Then if we go to the Erotica section of the Archives, we'll walk in on Logan, who will drop a new sorcery upon defeat. With that, there was just one sorcery left to acquire, and if you recall, there was a certain vendor that we murdered down in New Londo because he didn't give us a key. Well, he's back now, and thankfully he has no memory of the incident, and will happily sell us the final sorcery. At this point, there are no NPCs or quest lines to mess up, which means we are free to run through areas and focus on getting the 3 remaining Lord Souls. The Four Kings was again not bad at all because of the Havel set, the Bed of Chaos must have gone easy on me because it only took 4 attempts, and Nito, well, was neato. Throughout New Game Plus, I made sure to grab all of the colored slabs while going through the areas, so after killing the Stray Demon for the regular slab, it was time for some upgrades. Huge. Okay, that is all the weapon upgrades done. From there, I challenged Gwendolyn, and while I'm in the running simulator, I can finally tell you why we farmed out those Black Knights despite having all of their drops already. This first Black Knight drops a guaranteed Titanite chunk, and with the help of this big lizard and Firelink, we can break down these chunks into 3 large shards. And those large shards can then be broken down into 5 normal shards. Why do we need these shards if we're already done with the weapon upgrade achievements? Well, the Knight's Honor achievement requires you to collect every single boss weapon in the game, and in order to get each boss weapon, we need a boss soul and the corresponding weapon type at plus 10, which means 9 normal and 9 large Titanite shards. If we subtract the Catalyst boss weapon, which doesn't need to be upgraded, there are 14 weapons we need to get to plus 10, requiring a grand total of 126 of each shard for this achievement. While you can just buy these from the different blacksmiths, that would require nearly 600,000 souls, and back when I farmed this out, I was quite underleveled and still had many spells to purchase, so there was no way I could afford that. Thanks to that Black Knight farming, I have enough materials to get every boss weapon we need for this Knight's Honor achievement. Well, all the Titanite anyway, because some of these bosses have more than one boss weapon, which of course requires more than one boss soul. This is precisely why we had to kill those optional bosses. However, Sif actually has 3 boss weapons, and we also used Gwyn's soul on a miracle. So, in order to get the final 2 Knight's Honor weapons, we'll have to go to New Game Plus 2. But before that, I finally got around to picking up that last miracle. I'll be taking this, thank you, that was all miracles. Alright. So, Power Within. And this time we're going to charcoal pine resin. And then we'll see if we can land the first parry. We did not. It's fine. I don't know why I have so much trouble with this guy. My chat told me about a parry loop that you can do on him, but I couldn't even do that right. Why did that not work? Why is this not working? Don't mess up. Don't mess up. It's like one more. We're just gonna hit him. Yep, we're just hit him. Okay. Done. Once again, that took me way too long to finally get, but we can now link the flame this time and proceed into New Game Plus 2. Where we have 2 goals. Defeat Sif, then travel to the giant blacksmith in Anor Londo to create the last 2 boss weapons. After escaping the asylum, I took the lift from Firelink down to New Londo and traveled through the Valley of the Drakes. Then I took the lift inside this tower up to the Dark Root Basin, bought the crest from Andre, and made it to Sif a couple minutes later. From there, to save us some trouble ringing all the bells, we're once again going to get an assist from this undead soldier. Got it? Yes, I think this is it. I think that's inside. Okay, we need to lock in. If we die, we gotta do that all again. Everybody here knows I got so lucky doing that first try. Ready? Run! Come on. If we can just land on this, wait for bonfire. Okay, final boss fight. Here we go. Dude, we're cooking them. Ready? No bosses left. We just need to get in there. We just need to get to that door, and we're done. Just one precarious sprint stood in between us and 100%ing Dark Souls. And thankfully, at this point, we've had a lot of practice at it. Please fall off. He's dead. He's dead. We should be good. Okay, we made it. So, Great Lord, Great Sword. Here we go. We did it, gamers. This 100% was quite the journey, but to be honest, it wasn't as bad as 100%ing Dark Souls 2. Check out that video here to see why.